Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. Last night, Adam Idah took to social media and reiterated what the manager said to the players after the game in Germany. Adam Idah said that he was so proud of the Champions League campaign for the season. We had some unbelievable moments as a team and really pushed on. It wasn't meant to be last night, but we will grow from it and be back. Adam Idah pictured coming on for Jota. Adam Idah is one of a select few players that has scored 3 goals in a Champions League season. There's a player at Celtic that scored way more. It's the first time since Joe Craig in 1977-78 season, Daizen Maeda's scored 4 or more goals in the Champions League. And that is a player that will be on the radar of many clubs around Europe. I don't like to say it, but it's a fact. He is one of the best performing players at European level just now. In the intervening years since 1977-78, we've had players such as Henrik Larsson, Chris Sutton, Kenny Miller, Giorgio Samaras, Moussa Dembele, and even Nico Koon's on 3 this season, as well as Mo Johnston. Yes, I don't like to say that name, but Mo Johnston even scored 3 in a European in a season for Celtic with Europe. It puts Daizen Maeda, the fact that he's scored so many goals, I think he's on 22 for the season. He is one of the most informed players in Europe. And what that will bring is people come knocking at the door and asking, is he available? And it's just a fact. It's a fact that this will happen. As he enters into the fight, I just hope that he's not in the same agency as Kyogo and a certain youngster at Celtic, the CAA group. If he is, there's only one thing that's going to happen. He's going to be sold this summer. He's a player and he's a family man and he's loving his time in Glasgow and at Celtic. Alistair Johnson described him as one of the most informed players in Europe. When you look at it, is he the biggest bargain? I think he cost 1.6 million since Henrik Larsson. But there's another player that has came into Celtic this season. And at the start of the season, many opposing teams' fans in Scotland were calling us the OAPFC. Yes, bringing in a 38-year-old goalkeeper, the same age as the goalkeeper that had just retired from Celtic. But bringing in Kasper Schmeichel was a little bit clever and sneaky by Brendan Rodgers, getting him in on a free, leaving the void that was left by the big Joe Hart, who, let's face it, Joe Hart at the beginning of his Celtic career, many Celtic fans were thinking, what have we done? But he's a man that loves the club. And Kasper Schmeichel and his dad are now players, or ex-players, as in Peter's, but absolutely love the club. Kasper Schmeichel made some 9 incredible saves the other night. It's a fantastic place that we're in just now. But Brendan Rodgers told the players after the game, he says, I came back here to make progress and I always knew that I'd be judged on what we did in Europe. The first campaign, he gets a freebie. He was always going to be judged. Brendan Rodgers was always going to be judged this year on what we did in Europe. And I have to say, hats off to Brendan because he upped the game. I think now we're all sitting thinking, why don't we play like that every single Champions League game? Away from home, there's no fear factor anymore from Celtic as a team. We need to keep as much of this team together. Brendan Rodgers went and he said to the players, he said, look, our job is to learn from this, learn from these experiences, learn from the experiences we've had this season. The season where we were absolutely demolished by Borussia Dortmund. And we're thinking, is it going to be one of those seasons with Atalanta up next? A team that had won the Europa League. And that's how they got entry into the Champions League. Yes, we thought, this is going to be interesting. But we got the draw against Atalanta. It was a masterclass by Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers said, our job now is to learn from the experiences and finish off the season really well and get into the Champions League next season. Let's see if we can improve again. He's told the players that they need to improve again. They need to get up that next level. This is where we want to be as a club. Was that a battle cry to keep some of the players at Celtic Park that may want to leave this summer? Or is it just reassuring the players that he's going to be here next summer and it's what we want to do? We want to perform at this level. We want to get to the knockout phase. We want to get past just this playoff position. We want to potentially finish top 8. Rodgers heaped praise on his players after the game, said it was a heroic performance. It's not what the players deserved, especially on the night. It was a very harsh way to end the game. But I do think that the quality of the Germans going into extra time would have been just a little bit too much for Celtic. It would have took the players put them through another 30 minutes of grueling football, and would they have stood up to it? Our bench wasn't as strong. Brendan Rodgers it was looking like we were going to extra time. Brendan Rodgers was saving the subs for the second 30-minute spell, but ultimately were the subs good enough? He says that he thought the concentration was good. When he denied them space, and we had quality and we had some great moves. We actually had the best chances of the game in the second half. It was a real heroic performance. It was just an unfortunate ending. It wasn't the happy ending that we were all wanting. And there are 2 players at Celtic that have been called up to the national team. Yes, one is at Celtic and one isn't. He's out on loan, funnily enough. But the Korean players, South Korea has got a call up for Yang, strangely enough, even though he's had sort of limited game time here at Celtic. And then there's Kwon. Kwon is a player that went out to Hibs on loan, and he has been playing reasonably well for Hibs, but maybe that's his level. But anyway, will he return to Celtic this summer, or will Celtic just sell him on? Can he fit into the Brendan Rodgers style, and can he improve the midfield ultimately? Is the big question. When we look at the fact that we brought in Arne Engels, I think that a lot of Celtic fans are now looking at the fact that that's the standard that we should be going for. Is that Arne Engels, the Paulo Bernardos? I mean, they are the future of the club. You've got to remember, Arne Engels is still only 21. He is looking like an absolute bargain at 11 million when he performs like that in the Champions League, and that's the level that he came here to be at with Celtic. Hopefully, next year in the Champions League, we don't suffer the same heartbreak in going out with a 94th minute goal. Hopefully we can do enough to maybe even finish top 8. Callum McGregor says, look, the Champions League heartbreak has outlined the hunger by the manager. It's outlined the hunger by these players to step up and play in the Champions League next season. We were absolutely seconds from taking Bayern Munich to extra time. And you never know what could happen. But a 1-1 draw in Germany, people will look at it and say, look, it's another game where Celtic haven't won away. Celtic's away record in Europe is absolutely atrocious. We were playing one of the teams that are looking to be into at least the last four of the Champions League. Definitely the last 8. The 7-1 defeat against Dortmund on match day 2, I still think back to that and think how the team have improved since then. The team collapsed that day. They collapsed that night. The first half, it was just a nightmare to watch. Callum McGregor has been at Celtic for 12 years and he's targeting improving himself as a player. At the final whistle, I think every Celtic player on the pitch was heartbroken. They gave so much to the game, says Callum McGregor. But when the dust settles, the players can feel really proud of themselves because that performance against a top club in Europe was first class. There's a really good feeling within the group that we could come and make it really uncomfortable for them. And we exceeded what we thought we could do in the game. We played so well, they were really uncomfortable at points. We could feel it within the stadium. The fact that we made the atmosphere in that stadium so bad for them is absolutely fantastic. When we come away from the game, ultimately we've been knocked out of the Champions League. It's a disappointing feeling. The players can take a huge amount of belief, said Callum McGregor. The experience that we've had over these 10 games hopefully will be better next year. Celtic will need to improve the squad during the summer. All the teams that are in this phase of the Champions League always improve. Maybe one, maybe two players, but they keep the majority of the team. They do keep the core of their team, and that's what Celtic will ultimately have to do. Brendan Rodgers spoke about the fact, look, you don't get a chance at Celtic right now to keep a team for it any more than 3 years because players are sold on. It's the Celtic way. It's the business model. But ultimately, if we pay the players just that little bit more and keep them here just a little bit longer to try and build something, let's not take our eye off the ball. Let's not take our eye off the prize. The main prize is always and always will be winning the league in Scotland. Never mind what they're doing next door on the other side of the city. Never mind about potential takeovers and unlimited cash from... We've heard it all before, haven't we? Craig White, the billionaire that was coming in. Doesn't really matter what they do. It's all about us. They're light years behind us. It would take them another manager and another £200 million investment to get anywhere near us. They'll say it's not. But when you look at it, all we're worried about is Celtic, and we need to bring in some more quality players. Can we bring in another 3 players at 10 million each? Will it need that? Can we go out and find another Dyson Maida for 1.6 million? You never know. Anyway, James Forrest is still about. Paulo Bernardo's still about. When you look at the growth from the players this season, the fact that Paulo Bernardo's out for another 4 weeks, James Forrest is on his way back. It is all about the running now and about getting to 55. And we've got a game this weekend to make sure that we get one step closer to winning the SPFL title again. Adamida, he's a player that's vastly improved. No one's criticising him now. No one's criticising him about the price tag that we paid for him, even though it was inflated, even though we know the reasons why it was inflated, and there's no use going over old ground. But there's not many people doubting Adamida now, and especially at this level. You know, as a team, we're growing, and there's only good things can happen. Celtic will need to be strong this summer. They'll need to be strong to fight off suitors for Nico Kuhn. Newcastle are sniffing about Nico Kuhn. And then there's the Dyson Maida effect. The fact that he's one of the most prolific players in European football just now, statistically, and the goal threat that he brings as a striker, the fact that you can utilise him as a striker and a winger, will see him as a major, major asset to many, many clubs. Can Celtic fight off bids for 2 of those players? Tell me what you think in the comments section, and I shall see you tonight, 8 p.m, Celtic Part Time, where we can talk about the game this weekend and the changes that Brendan Rodgers will make to the team this weekend. On that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.